This is an ABC News special report. Now reporting, David Muir.
And good evening. We're coming on just a bit earlier than normal with breaking news at this hour. America reaching a sobering milestone late today. More than 500,000 lives now lost to the coronavirus pandemic. President Biden is expected to speak at any moment, paying tribute to those lost to the virus. The president issuing a proclamation a moment ago saying on this solemn occasion, we reflect on their loss. Let's listen to the president.
Each day, I receive a small card in my pocket that I carry with me in my schedule. It shows the number of Americans who have been infected by or died from COVID-19. Today, we mark a truly grim, heartbreaking milestone. 500,071 dead. That's more Americans who have died in 1 year in this pandemic than in World War I, World War II, and the Vietnam War combined. That's more lives lost to this virus than any other nation on earth. But as we acknowledge the scale of this mass death in America, we remember each person and the life they lived. They're people we knew. They're people we feel like we knew. Read the obituaries and remembrances. The son who called his mom every night just to check in. The father's daughter who lit up his world. The best friend who was always there. The nurse and nurses, but the nurse who made her patients want to live. I was just in Kalamazoo, Michigan, at the Pfizer vaccine manufacturing facility. There I met a man when I walked in whose father-in-law was dying of the virus. He was sad. I asked if I could call his father-in-law. He said his father-in-law was too sick to speak. But then he said, but could I pray for him? Could I pray for him? We all know someone, fellow Americans who live lives of struggle, purpose, and of hope, who talked late into the night about their dreams, who wore the uniform born to serve, who loved, played, and always offered a hand. We often hear people described as ordinary Americans. There's no such thing. There's nothing ordinary about them. The people we lost were extraordinary. They spanned generations. Born in America, immigrated to America. But just like that, so many of them took their final breath alone in America. As a nation, we can't accept such a cruel fate. While we've been fighting this pandemic for so long, we have to resist becoming numb to the sorrow. We have to resist viewing each life as a statistic or a blur or on the news. We must do so to honor the dead, but equally important, care for the living, those who left behind. For the loved ones left behind, I know all too well. I know what it's like to not be there when it happens. I know what it's like when you are there, holding their hands. There's a look in your eye and they slip away. That black hole in your chest, you feel like you're being sucked into it. The survivor's remorse, the anger, the questions of faith in your soul. For some of you, it's been a year, a month, a week, a day, even an hour. And I know that when you stare at that empty chair around the kitchen table, it brings it all back, no matter how long ago it happened, as if it just happened that moment you look at that empty chair. The birthdays, the anniversaries, the holidays without them. And the everyday things, the small things, the tiny things that you miss the most. That scent when you open the closet. that park you go by that you used to stroll in, that movie theater where you met, the morning coffee you shared together, the bend in his smile, the perfect pitch to her laugh. I received a letter from a daughter whose father died of COVID-19 on Easter Sunday last year. She and her children, his grandchildren, enter Lent this season, a season of reflection and renewal, with heavy hearts. Unable to properly mourn, she asked me in the letter, what was our loss among so many others? Well, that's what has been so cruel. So many of the rituals that help us cope, that help us honor those we loved, haven't been available to us. The final rites with family gathered around, the proper homegoing, showered with stories and love, tribal leaders passing out the final traditions of sacred cultures on sacred lands. As a nation, we cannot and we must not let this go on. That's why the day before my inauguration, at the COVID-19 memorial, at the reflecting pool on the National Mall, I said, to heal, we must remember. I know it's hard. I promise you, I know it's hard. I remember. But that's how you heal. You have to remember. And it's also important to do that as a nation. For those who have lost loved ones, this is what I know. They're never truly gone. They'll always be part of your heart. I know this as well, and it seems unbelievable, but I promise you, the day will come when the memory of the loved one you lost will bring a smile to your lips before a tear to your eye. It will come, I promise you. My prayer for you, though, is that day will come sooner rather than later. And that's when you know you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And for me, the way through sorrow and grief is to find purpose. I don't know how many of you lost someone a while ago wondering, is he or she proud of me now? Is this what they want me to do? I know, that's how I feel. And we can find purpose. Purpose worthy of the lives they lived and worthy of the country we love. So today, I ask all Americans to remember. Remember those we lost and those who left behind. But as we all remember, I also ask us to act, to remain vigilant, to stay socially distanced, to mask up, get vaccinated when it's your turn. We must end the politics and misinformation that's divided families, communities, in the country. And it's cost too many lives already. It's not Democrats and Republicans who are dying from the virus. It's our fellow Americans. It's our neighbors, our friends, our mothers, our fathers, our sons, our daughters, husbands, wives. We have to fight this together as one people, as the United States of America. That's the only way we're going to beat this virus, I promise you. The only way to spare more pain and more loss, the only way. These millstones no longer mark our national mourning. These milestones, I should say, no longer mark our national mourning. Let this not be a story of how far we fell, but of how far we climbed back up. We can do this. For in this year of profound loss, we've seen profound courage from all of you on the front lines. I know the stress, the trauma, the grief you carry, but you give us hope. You keep us going. You remind us that we do take care of our own, that we leave nobody behind. And while we've been humbled, we have never given up. We are America. We can and will do this. In just a few minutes, Jill and I, Kamala and Doug, will hold a moment of silence here in the White House, the people's house, your house. We ask you to join us, to remember so we can heal, to find purpose in the work ahead, to show that there is light in the darkness. This nation will smile again. This nation will know sunny days again. This nation will know joy again. And as we do, we'll remember each person we've lost, the lives they lived, the loved ones they left behind. We will get through this, I promise you. But my heart aches for you, those of you who are going through it right now. May God bless you all, particularly those who've lost someone. God bless you.
And there you have it, President Biden at the White House talking about the staggering loss this country has faced in just the last year. He said we've lost more people than we lost in World War I, World War II, and the Vietnam War all combined. More lives lost than any other nation on earth. And he said, remember each person and the life that they lived. Our chief White House correspondent, Cecilia Vega, watching along with me. And Cecilia, there was so much talk before the election that if Joe Biden were elected, he would be the comforter in chief. He would not hide his own pain from the American people in trying to help them get through this.
You could see it on his face right there, David. This is a president who is deeply and profoundly moved by what is happening in our country today, what has led up to this moment, because this is a man who in his heart has lived through this, that these are not just words. This is someone who knows profoundly what grief and loss is. He lost his wife. He lost his young daughter. He lost his son just a few years ago to brain cancer. When you speak to people who know Joe Biden, they tell you this is the Joe Biden that they know and love, that someone who can speak with compassion, that someone who understands in his soul what it means to lose a family member. And when he tells you, the American public tonight, that he knows what that feeling is like to look out and see an empty chair at that dinner table, he's speaking from experience. And he also said, David, there will come a time when you will smile in remembering these people that we have lost. The smile will come before the tear, and he knows that in speaking through personal experience.
Cecilia, thank you. And with our eyes trained on the South Portico there, we are awaiting the President, the First Lady, the Vice President, the Second Gentleman, leading the nation in a moment of silence to honor those who've been lost. The President also recognizing that he must also rally a nation, even while we're in the middle of all of this. He said, I ask Americans to remember those who were lost, but I also ask you to act, to continue to social distance, to wear masks, to get vaccinated if and when it becomes available. We all know that the delays across this country and certainly the storms of the last week have only added to the challenge. But he made a point of speaking to the frontline workers, the heroes, the families who've lost loved ones, and he said, you give us hope. You keep us going. And Dr. Jen Ashton, a year ago, you and I came on the air with just those early numbers.
David, this milestone is simply inconceivable to have been reached in just about a year. To put this into medical context, at various points in the last year, COVID-19 related deaths have been the leading cause of death in the United States. We are at or around the number of people who die every year from heart disease and cancer. And I was so happy to hear President Biden use the exact and latest number, 500,071, at least COVID-related deaths. I mean, it is, every single one of those is a life, David, not a statistic, not a number.
And it's our job to help remember each and every one of those lives the best we can. A moment of silence amid the 500 candles meant to represent the 500,000 American lives lost. President, the First Lady, the Vice President, and the Second Gentleman heading back into the White House after marking that moment. We know the bells tolling at the National Cathedral 500 times also to represent that 500,000 mark. And as Jen Ashton pointed out, the President said 571,000 lives, made a point of getting it down to the number, even though we know that number increases, likely even as we've been on the air. One other note, President Biden has also ordered flags to be flown at half-staff on federal grounds until sunset on February 26 for the next several days in our country to pay respects. And there you see the flag there at the White House. We are going to take a moment on World News Tonight this evening to honor those who've been lost and interview the families who've been brave enough to come forward to share their stories. So we'll see you for that shortly. In the meantime, we continue our coverage on ABC News Live on your local news, and I'll see you a short time from now on World News Tonight. Good night.
This has been a special report from ABC News.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.